Look at that.
Let me turn the phone off. So that'll give us a lot of feedback.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Hi, Rick. Hi, Kat.
Hi.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, great. So we at least have that established. That's where to start.
All right. And then what do we do, David? Go down to participants?
Let's see, you're the host. I think if you click on, hold on. I think I can share my screen. Host disabled participant screen sharing. Okay. So you somehow need to enable me to share my screen.
Invite.
Click on participants.
Yeah.
And then click on
You.
me, and I think there's a more tab.
There is a more. All right.
And I don't know if
to record, allow.
Make host or make co-host.
Make co-host.
there you go. That would be it. I am the co-host. Now watch this. Let's see if this will
Watch
work.
this.
What's that look like?
You've got control.
Oh boy. Oh wow. I don't know if I can handle it, but
Yep. You're
at least we've got it.
Sound down there.
Yes. So now for sound down there, let's see. I'm hearing you up here.
Is anyone from the theater going to be here?
Yeah, no, ability.
We have a computer set up in a booth that overlooks the theater, David.
Right.
And the question is, how does the sound carry down? I know there's projection all over this theater, but I'm not sure.
So you're projecting on a screen in front of the theater. So you see the presentation.
That's right. We're projecting on a screen on a computer in a booth that overlooks the theater. So we're trying to see.
Are there speakers in the theater tied to that projector?
I would assume they are, but
Hold on, I'll be right back.
this is Kat's computer.
Yeah, but who set it up to hook to this?
It was already set up when we
By
were
who?
here.
By who? And Marabella, somebody like
No,
that?
the theater, I think. When we got here, all we had to do was one HDMI cord.
You got speakers down there? It looks like someone has set it up to where it will go into the speakers of the theater, but
Yes.
whoever set it up knows how to do that.
Right,
They didn't
that's
leave
what I
instructions?
Mhm.
We don't have somebody from the theater here?
Maybe if Dan's around, we could be able.
I would think we would need a cord from the computer to something, because that's
We have
the,
the HDMI into this, and we have this into all that equipment. I bet you it's a switch.
Oh, center speakers, what do we got? Center speakers, channel 1, channel 2,
Test.
clip signal, faults.
Hi, Dave.
And left and right.
Main power.
No,
Hi, Penny.
Hey there. Just trying to get my video on. Okay, good.
There we go. I'm sharing my screen. I guess I could
Power.
stop that for now so we can see each other, although
Hi, Dan. This is Dan.
Hi, Dan, what's going on?
I think they're trying to resolve some audio issues on the site, so
You're hooked up to.
I'm staying out of it.
No one here knows how it works. Is there an IT person from the theater who knows how this works, or do you know who set it up for us?
They set it up for you or is
Well, somebody took Kat's PC
Theoretically,
and
you
hooked
didn't
up
have the speakers running that day.
No, we didn't, we heard it here
the
and,
system from here.
yeah,
We don't know how to get it to do the sound downstairs. We're getting sound through the PC. We're up in the control booth. And that's where the
I'll be in the office there. Contact the president. You need to maybe walk you through it on the phone.
okay.
I'll be there in a minute. I'm just coming in the front door.
Okay, great. All right, if you're coming in here, I'll let you take care of it. All right, thank you.
Oh, man, you're paying enough for this.
I wonder if there's just speakers that we could plug into the laptop and point that way.
Dan Mirabella's invited.
Okay.
You know, I got what do I got? I got a couple of bows.
That, right. We just need one.
Who knows how to run these things?
Do you know how to get the audio on?
I don't know anything.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm just here to open the doors. Let me see if Guy can walk you through it.
okay.
Who's the best IT guy? You, Eric? That on me. Let me see, get this thing going.
We're calling the IT guy. Hi, Penny.
Hey, Rick.
And we're also, Dave just went over to get a speaker from his office. We might be able to just plug a speaker directly into this laptop and project it over the balcony.
Guy, do you know how to work this system, the sound system up here from the booth? Yeah.
There's a DVD player.
Wait a minute. DVD on the soundboard, oh, two slides, slide them to the bottom. All the way. Ain't got any sound now?
I don't know. Where's the mic? What
Where's the mic?
that would be picking it up?
Yeah, you got a laptop, right?
Yes.
You want to speak to him, Guy? Yeah. So this guy, he's the president, Guy Crawford.
Hello, guy. Good.
You want that curtain closed? You want to close the curtain there?
In the DVD player. The black one? I don't see an HDMI cord coming out of it though. I see a black DVD player, but it's just sitting here by itself. Not. No.
Let's try this.
There's an HDMI cord coming out of the laptop and going into the small black box that goes into the system. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. How do you do that? Okay. Okay. Where's Cat?
I was looking for a switch up here. Then no, there's no cross up here.
Pardon me? Oh. Uh-huh. Will, I'm on let's see, I have select a microphone. Okay. Same as system. I have select a speaker. Speakers, synaptic audio, which is what it's on. It has same as system. Test speaker and microphone, leave computer audio, switch to phone audio. And then there's an audio settings. And I just open that and it. Yes. Yes. Uh-huh. So same as system. Let's try that. Same. Is there sound coming up down there, Dan? None. Okay. And just by speaking at the laptop? No. This is test speaker and microphone. Switch to phone audio.
Yeah, just so you know, I think we've lost audio on the Zoom. Talking into the computer and I'm not hearing you.
Try it now.
All right, we have audio back.
Give me a test.
Test one, test one.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I don't hear you.
Uh-oh.
Try it again.
Test one, test one.
Okay. Some reason when we plug in here, we don't hear you.
Well, maybe that's audio out or something. I can't see anything.
Disable the jack. Which device did you plug in? Headphones,
Try that.
microphone.
A port on the other side.
Let's see. No.
Lost the audio again.
Yeah, okay.
Now it's back.
Yes. I think I'm going to turn the laptop around and ask the people that are down in the seating if they can hear us. And let's see if that works. But let me go down there. David, why don't you just watch the
Sure,
computer
sure.
and then we'll do a test.
Can you test, David?
Test one, test one. Can you hear us now?
Keep going. I'm just looking for a volume on the laptop here.
All right, test one, test one. We're here in Milford, coming to you from all over the state of Delaware.
Still, you're not picking them up down
Waiting
there.
to talk about the Downtown Development District program. Test one, test one. Test two.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now? Test one.
Just coming out of the laptop.
Okay, I think we're going to get a laptop down here too.
All right.
So we're going to go get
Okay.
that, and I think they'll be here.
If you want, I'm trying to think. I've got a mic and an amp next door. Well, let's try that.
From the laptop.
Okay, we're gonna get another laptop down in the sheet.
All right, we're standing by.
Dave, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Okay.
Kenny.
And then it goes over to the soundboard, it looks like. But I don't think we're getting any sound yet, even though I pushed those buttons off. So I'm looking at the picture right now.
I'm not offering any advice because I'm not there and I can only handle one laptop at a time. One set of speakers.
Hey, Dave, if worse comes to worse, the information's all there and Rick may be the presenter.
He might be. Could be.
I mean, I think that's the worst scenario.
It wouldn't be the worst thing ever, but
Well, not worse, but I
No.
mean, at least everything's there for him. And
yeah, he knows the material.
yeah,
And,
and Rob's there and Dan's there, so.
I think Rob's on. Rob, are you on? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm on the Zoom. I'm not actually
Okay.
Right. Right. So we need to hear Rob.
I'm doing this from the vehicle, waiting for my daughter's softball game to start.
Okay, that's fair.
Multitasking.
This is multitasking at its finest.
Yep.
So if you hear me cheering, it's not that I'm excited about the DDD. It's something exciting.
Right. Somebody's made a run or caught a ball or something.
Yes. Okay, they do this- The auxiliary?
It may be called auxiliary, correct.
Okay, let's see if we can figure that out.
Because if not, it's only going to play the sound coming out of the speaker of your computer, which is not going to give you anything.
Mhm. You know what? Trying to find out where we control this.
If you type into the search bar at the bottom of your computer, sounds, it'll pop up.
I don't see
If
a
you can get
search.
to that point,
Okay.
and minimize that window.
I've got a tech guy coming out there. He'll be there in 10 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
That would be good.
Yeah, his name is Nicholas Hall, and he's in the area, and he'll be there in less than 10 minutes.
Okay, very good.
Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. No problem.
Plan
Bye.
B,
Yeah.
Plan B is that someone in the audience has a laptop, and the audio, I think, will be fine for people seated below. So we may be able to just do this with a laptop there, and they have the big screen here. So they'll have the audio and the imaging.
Okay. Either way, like I said, Nick will be there in less than 10 minutes, and
Okay.
he's an audio tech, and he knows exactly what he'll do,
All right.
and he'll have you all fixed up in a few minutes.
We're going to send Rick up to the stage and he's going to do a dance routine before we start. Okay. Thank you for your help.
No problem.
Thanks, Guy.
Won't lose it. He's in about 10 minutes. He should be here.
Okay.
How do you keep the front door unlocked?
Let me ask,
Let's see.
If people are logging in right now, we're having a little technical difficulty we're trying to solve. It'll be a few minutes before we start the presentation.
You just did.
I did. If you're emceeing it, you might want to just go ahead and start talking to people. People in the audience below can catch on later, I guess.
Folks, as Dan Bond just told you, we're having a couple of technical difficulties. Please, we thank you for your patience, and we'll start in just a few minutes. Have you been able to log on?
I need the Wi-Fi.
Well, she had the Wi-Fi.
Oh, okay.
Well, it almost feels like the heater's on up here. Any luck? Oh, I think she's close. And then just turn your volume up, and then hopefully everyone will hear that. Can we do would you like to do a sound test?
Do we need a sound test? Test
Yes.
one, test one.
How is that? Can you all hear?
Welcome to Milford, home of the Downtown Development District. Coming to you live from all parts of the state of Delaware, right down to Milford. Does that help? Can you hear it down there? I'm envisioning an audience of at least 50 or 100 people, all socially distanced, staying safe, ready to learn about downtown development districts.
Sounds good.
Does it sound okay?
Yes.
The audience, can they hear?
Everybody can hear?
Can you hear?
Well, they'll be the initial speakers and we'll be quiet, and then it'll come in and out.
Sounds like a good crowd, like you're having a lot of fun and enjoying being together. Can only imagine. All I see is Rick. He's happy as always. And we're gonna have to start coming to these meetings in person.
That's right.
Heck with this Zoom stuff.
Well, should we start, guys? Would you like to try this? Okay, I'm getting thumbs up.
Give it a try. Want me to kick it off?
Kick it off.
You guys have already heard me talking, but if you don't know me, I'm David Edgell with the Office of State Planning Coordination. Thank you for being here to learn about the DDDs and get some information about redevelopment in Milford. We have a number of speakers, some live, some being beamed by Zoom from all parts of the state of Delaware into you in Milford with the State Housing Authority. We have your own Dan Bond. We'll talk about historic tax credit issues. Rob Pierce, District Administrator, will speak about the DDD program in Milford. You already know Rick. He's going to talk some more later. And Karen Horton will speak as well. She's the State Housing Authority. So without further ado, here's a little bit of, I just pretty much just said this, but this is our agenda for tonight. And, I think one of the main purposes of tonight is you're all here, I believe, because you know something about the Downtown Development District program and the opportunities for redevelopment in Milford. And really one of our main presentations is going to be Penny Pearson from the State Housing Authority. She's going to introduce her now, and she's going to go over some of the nuts and bolts about how the rebate works, so you can see how this program can help with your project. So Penny, with that, take it away, and I will advance the slides on your call.
Thanks, Dave. First, just want to say welcome to everyone and thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to try to give you a brief overview of the Downtown Development District rebate program and how it works. Next, please, Dave. Okay, so okay, great. So the DDD rebate program, this is the primary incentive that supports and encourages investment in designated districts like Milford. It's available to all qualified investors, and that make qualified real property investments. And we refer to that as the QRPI, and you'll hear a lot about that through this presentation. The investment must be for the rehabilitation or the expansion or new construction of a commercial, residential, industrial, or mixed-use building or facility. And investors can have the ability to receive rebates up to 20% of that qualified real property investment. Rebates are performance-based, meaning that you will need to complete your project, pay for it, and then place in service prior to applying for the rebate. Next, please. So let's talk a little bit about what is a qualified investor. It can be property owners that occupy or are non-occupants of the property. Tenants who make leasehold improvements may also apply. They will need the owner's consent, and we have a form for that. Investors can be for-profit, they can be nonprofit organizations, businesses, and even homeowners. However, federal, state, or local agencies or quasi-governmental organizations are not eligible to participate either as an investor or a property owner. Next. So there are some basic minimum threshold requirements. The QRPI, which is that qualified real property investment, it must be made within the boundary of a district. And it's very easy to find out if your property is in a district. If you go out to DSHA's website or the Office of State Planning's website, there is an interactive map. It's easy, you just type in the address and then it will show you if your property is located within the boundaries of any of the 12 districts. Also, I believe that a lot of the districts themselves have this map linked on their web pages too. The QRPI must be made in conformance with the district plan. And this district plan was submitted with their application when they applied to be a designated district. And that district plan can be found on the Office of State Planning's website too. The QRPI must be made after the date the real property is officially incorporated into the boundary of a district. Milford was designated back on I think August 10th, 2016. So they have been a district for a while, so that really doesn't come into play right now. The QRPI must be in excess of the minimum required investment. And we're going to talk later about what those minimum investments are. The investor must meet site control requirements. That means you have to have legal title, or if you're a tenant, the owner's consent. Also, during the large project reservation process, you can apply with a signed purchase agreement, and we'll also talk about that later. Most importantly, the work must be performed by a Delaware licensed contractor. Again, this is kind of just a brief overview, so there are more details that can be found in our guidelines. Next. So DSHA has established 2 different funding set-asides, and we've done this to make sure that a variety of projects have access to the rebate funding. So the first thing we're going to talk about are large projects, and those are projects that have qualified real property investments greater than $350,000. And rebates for large projects are calculated at 20% of the QRPI up to 2.5 million. QRPIs over 2.5 million are calculated at a lower rate. And that works out to be about 60,000 per additional million of investment. So to reach the maximum rebate, which is now 2 million. So if any of you are familiar with this program, it used to be 1.5 million. For this round, this is the first time that we have increased that to 2 million. To reach that 2 million though, you'd have to have a $27.5 million investment. The second set aside is the small projects. And for a small project, you need to have between $25,000 and $350,000 of investment. Anything under $25,000 is not eligible for this program. So the minimum for small projects is $25,000. The rebate is calculated at 20% of the QRPI, and the maximum rebate would be $70,000 for a $350,000 investment. Next. So the large project and the small project rebates have different application processes. Large project investors, in order to be eligible for a rebate, you must apply for a reservation and receive a reservation. And I mentioned this previously, if you do not have full site control for the property, if you have a signed purchase agreement, you can still apply for a reservation. Reservation applications are accepted up to twice a year, subject to funding availability. Right now, we are, the spring round is underway, and applications are due no later than June 17th by 4 p.m. The large project application process can be competitive. If we were to get more applications than funding, and right now we have $10 million we're offering out. If we were to get more applications, then we would score the applications and rank them based on some priority considerations that have been established and are outlined in our guidelines. But for at least the last 4 rounds, we have not had to have a competitive process. Anyone that came in that met all the minimum threshold criteria were able to get reservations. One thing to recognize is what this reservation stands for. It is a guarantee of funding availability only. So it does not guarantee that that's the amount of rebate you'll get in the end, but what it's guaranteeing that based on your application, there is a certain amount of money we're going to set aside, and then when your project is complete and paid for and placed in service, then you will come in and actually apply for the rebate. The investors must apply for the rebate within 60 days of the placed in service date. Large projects do require an attestation from an independent CPA, meaning it cannot be anyone that you currently have a business relationship with. And that cost for that CPA attestation is not eligible for rebate. Next. There are a few additional requirements for large projects. Full site control. If you came in with a purchase agreement, you have 120 days from the date of reservation to acquire that property, to continue holding that reservation. Then the next benchmark is 1 year from the reservation. 1 year from the reservation, your project needs to be substantially commenced. And what that means is you'll need to have 15% of the qualified construction activity completed. And at that point, depending on the situation, we may or may not send out an inspector to verify the 15%. We do have a process to ask for an extension, but primarily if you haven't started in 1 year, you will probably have to return the reservation and reapply. Let's just say that you're 10% completed and not 15% completed. More than likely, we're going to give you a 6-month extension to be 15% substantially commenced. The next benchmark would be the project needs to be completed within 3 years from the date of reservation. Also, investments must be less than 50% complete to apply for a reservation. So if your project is 80% complete, you would not be eligible to apply at that point for a reservation. The DDD rebate is to inspire investors to take that leap to start a project. And at 80%, it's pretty much that project would have taken place with or without the DDD rebate. And the last 2 items really only come into play right after a district is designated. Costs incurred prior to the district's designation are ineligible. And also, at the time a district becomes designated, if there's an investment out there that's more than 35% complete, it's not eligible to participate in the program. Next. So let's talk a little bit about what's eligible and what's not eligible. Eligible costs are hard costs or brick and mortar costs directly related to the physical construction of the building's structure. Examples of that are, interior and exterior constructions, structural, mechanical, and electrical. The demolition of a primary building is eligible only when it's replaced with a new building. There are a few limited costs related to site improvements that are eligible, and they're also eligible at a reduced percentage. And in the guidelines, there's some extensive information about that. There's limited costs related to non-residential appliances and equipment. If you're building a residential home, the appliances are not eligible. But let's say you were building a restaurant. There are some pieces of equipment that we consider a permanent part of the building. For example, a walk-in freezer, a walk-in refrigerator. As long as they cost more than $5,000 a piece, which they do, they would also be eligible for rebate. And then just as a reminder, all these costs are only eligible if they're performed by, if the work's performed by a Delaware licensed contractor. Next. So ineligible costs. Typically refer to them as soft costs, such as acquisition, insurance, architectural, and engineering fees, permit fees, impact fees. Pretty much anything that has the word fee after it is typically not eligible. If you're putting in computer network equipment, office equipment, point of sale equipment is not. However, if there's wiring within the walls to support this equipment, that is eligible. Most exterior and interior signage is also not eligible. There are some cases where we have allowed some exterior signage. So if you have a question about that, then it's best to, talk to us about that. It just kind of depends on how it's attached to the building. General maintenance type repairs and service calls are not eligible. For example, if you had, if there was a leaky roof in the building and you were just going to repair it, that would not be eligible. But if you were replacing a roof, that would be eligible. Outbuildings, road repairs, new roads, curbing, perimeter, and public sidewalks, fencing, playgrounds and equipment, swimming pools, boats, boat docks, and landscaping are also ineligible expenses. Labor, labor and materials for work performed by unlicensed contractors is not eligible. Or if it's performed by the homeowner, it's not eligible. One of the things that we ask for is part of the application process when you come in is a copy of the contractor's license. And this is really to protect you so that you don't find out in the very end when you come in for the rebate that they're not licensed. And typically, contractors have no problem giving you that up front. And a lot of them do it without you asking. Next. Dave, next. Let's see here. Dave, I think we missed. Okay, we're good. We're good.
Good.
Okay, so here, I just wanted to give you some examples about how the different incentives can assist a project. This was a commercial investment. It was a building that had been vacant for a while. And I think the end result for this one was a dental office. And when they came in, they had $235,000 worth of qualified expense. The rebate was approximately $47,000. And then districts also have some incentives that they can offer you, each of the districts. And in this particular case, the value was about $1,000. And then they also applied to Kent County for a grant, and they received $10,000. So they were able to get a return of $58,000 on this project. If, for example, a district had like a facade program where they gave you like $5,000 grant to assist with the facade, you would still, when you apply for the rebate, you would still include all those costs for rebate, whether or not you receive grant funding to help you, to assist you with those. This is like one of the few times where you can double dip, so to speak, and stack all these incentives. And, and that's really what, is pushing a lot of investors forward, is being able to stack all these incentives. Kent County and Sussex County have what they call a matching grant program. And at least right now, it's up to $10,000 for commercial properties. And the max is $1,500 for residential. Next, please.
Hold on, Penny, I'm working on it.
Okay, no problem. The next slide is, this was a residential property, and this was actually in the Milford district. It was a blighted building, a blighted home that was rehabilitated. The total investment, or not total investment, but the qualified investment was $94,000. They received a rebate of around $19,000, and the district incentives were about $851. And then Kent County also gave them a rebate of $1,500. So they were able to receive a total of $21,000 in incentives. Next. So I just wanted to kind of give you a little bit about the activity that's going on in the rebate program right now. So the Milford district was designated on August 10th, 2016. Right now we have 3 active large project reservations totaling 1.1 million. Those are for projects that are either started or getting ready to start. We have 4 large project rebates that we have dispersed for a total of $717,000. And we have dispersed 36 small project rebates totaling $759,000. The Milford district has been very active, and we're still receiving calls all the time for projects. And I foresee us having quite a few more this year. So, but to give you like the big picture, all districts right now, we have 41 active large project reservations for about 19 million. And we've dispersed 44 large projects for 14.9 million and dispersed 184 small project rebates totaling 4.2 million. So as you can see, this is an active program that many people have been very successful in receiving rebates. And I've been administrating the program since the inception, and I only have, I think, one or two that were not able to come through the program, but it was because they just did not meet any of the basic requirements. And I think like one of the important things is to do, if you have a project, Dave, can you flip over to the next slide? If you have a project, it's just staying in contact with your district and DSHA so that we can make sure that this is a smooth process for you. This slide here is just a couple examples of some other projects that have been completed in Milford. We've got the old Picus building there, the new restaurant Benvenuto, and the one up on the top right-hand corner is the Insurance Mart. And then the house below there, that was a blighted property, and if I remember correctly, was leaning on the next building over, and that came out beautiful. So we've had a lot of successful, we've seen a lot of successful projects come out of Milford. Next slide. So just a few, tips for, getting a successful rebate. Please read the DDD rebate program guidelines. There's a lot of, it's not, I'll tell you, it's not the most interesting information to read, but it will walk you through a lot of your questions about what's eligible and what's not eligible. Discuss the project with your district administrator, and in your case, that's Rob Pierce, and find out like what incentives the district has that can help your project. Also, as far as incentives, if you go out to our webpage, there's a link to the Office of State Planning. The Office of State Planning has a webpage that they host that has all the information about all the different incentives that are available to DDD investors. We kind of talked about Kent County and Sussex County having a program. Shortly here, you'll hear from Dan Bond talking about historic tax credits. That's another one. So there are some other incentives out there that might be able to help your project too. And then discuss your project with DSHA prior to the start of construction. I think that that's, really important, because as long as you're following all the requirements of the program, though we really have very few issues then at the end paying out the rebate. And also, if you contact us early on and you're trying to figure out how much you think you're going to get back in rebate, we can help you with that too, so you kind of have an idea if you have some cost estimates already. Discuss licensing and invoicing requirements with your contractors up front, because you are required to provide itemized invoicing to us so that we can see the work and the labor that was involved in your project. And then just keep your paperwork organized throughout the process and ask questions. Both the district and DSHA are here to help. And then we also have Dave's group too. Like if you have questions, especially about like district plans, or the districts can answer all those questions. But it's just keeping in contact with us. The next slide. If you have questions from DSHA, I'm Penny Pearson. That's my contact information there. There's also two other team members, Tanisha Scott and Brittany Klecken. And those are the people that are going to actually look at your applications and review them. So, feel free to call them and ask questions. And then, later in this presentation, if you guys have any questions about the program, please ask us then. And thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Penny. Next on the agenda, we'll have questions towards the end, but next on the agenda, Dan Bond has offered to give a little overview of how to use the historic district tax credits to complement the DDD rebate program. So Dan, if you would, please take it away and let me know when to change the slide.
Okay. Thank you very much, David and Penny, for your presentation. And let me start by saying that it's a beautiful thing to be living in a small state, because your state staff people like Penny and her staff are very easy to work with, always very helpful, very responsive. I've done a number of projects where I have worked with Penny, and I can say it's a delight. Now, historic preservation tax credits, I'm sorry to say, are a little more complicated than the DDD reimbursement program. It requires a little bit more work and paperwork, but it can pay off very handsomely. When you rehabilitate a historic building, you can earn significant tax credits, which are in addition to the DDD program reimbursement. As Penny said, this is one of the stackable incentives. In many cases, by combining the two, you can recover about half of the cost of a historic rehabilitation if it's done in a DDD district. Most of the DDD districts in Delaware include buildings that will qualify for historic preservation tax credits. And one point that needs to be clarified, because people often get confused about what a tax credit is, it's not a deduction on your income tax, it's actually a credit that is equal to $1 of savings in taxes. And in addition, in Delaware, it is possible to sell your tax credits for cash. The federal credits have to be used to as a deduction from your income tax to the federal government, and it has to be spread over 5 years now. But in Delaware, if you have a significant amount of state tax credits, you can sell them at a small discount. Now, these credits are available only for work on buildings that are individually listed in the National Register of Historic Places, are located within and contribute to a historic district. Here in Milford, we have 3 historic districts, and I think about a half a dozen of buildings that are individually listed on the National Register. All of those would qualify for both the federal and state. And in some cases, it may be possible to get state credits even if you're not in a district or individually listed, but that's a special case. Now, as with the DDD program, there is a minimum threshold of expenditure. And basically, if it's for a commercial building, it's going to be the adjusted basis of the building. That's basically what you paid for the building when you acquired it, and then minus depreciation plus improvements, but it's a significant amount. There are state tax credits for homes if you're an occupant of a building, and then you have a lower threshold, and you get a smaller amount of tax credits. But I'm not going to go into the historic tax credits for individual homes. Next slide, please. Now, to earn these credits, you must adhere to the U.S. Secretary of Interior standards for historic preservation. And for the state credits, your rehab plans have to be approved before you begin work. And that's very important, that you work with the state preservation, historic preservation officer and get your plans approved before you begin work. The federal government is not quite so strict, but it is always better to get your plans approved, because you might want to do something that does not satisfy the Secretary of the Interior standards for historic preservation. I know a lot of people think that these standards are very onerous, that they require you to do a lot of things that would be quite expensive, and therefore they feel like the credits you get probably don't compensate you for the work that you do. I can tell you from experience that is not true. It does cost sometimes additional expenses to meet certain things in a historic rehab project, but in general, most of the work that you want to do to rehab a building, particularly your interior work, does not have to meet very stringent requirements. Therefore, it does pay, especially on large projects, expensive projects, to use historic preservation tax credits. Now, you can receive 20% of your allowable rehabilitation expenses from both the state of Delaware and the federal government. Quickly do the math, 20% tax credits from the federal government, 20% tax credits from the state of Delaware, 20% DDD reimbursement. And you can see that over half of your cost of a project probably will be covered. An important point to point out here is that the allowable rehabilitation expenses for the tax credit program are much greater than those for the DDD program, in that they include a lot of your soft costs, which can be quite substantial. Your architect, your legal fees, your operating expenses, and so forth. So they include the soft costs. They do not include acquisition, however. So the cost of buying the building is not included. But you can get 20% for your hard costs, the same as for the DDD program, and for your soft cost. Now, the residential homeowner and nonprofit organizations may receive up to 30% in credits for allowable rehabilitations from the state of Delaware, not from the federal government. And an important point is that 30% of the state's yearly allocation of historic preservation tax credits is currently being reserved for downtown development district projects. This is important because there is a limit, I think it's $10 million a year, in the credits that can be issued by the state of Delaware. And sometimes they hit that limit and you have to wait another year, and sometimes it might be more, to get your credit. So having this set aside helps people who are combining the DDD program with the historic tax credit program. One point here that I want to make about financing, both the DDD and the historic tax credit programs require that you put a lot of money out sometimes out of your own pocket or by borrowing it before you can get reimbursed. The DDD program is a reimbursement program. The historic preservation program is a tax credit program. That means you don't get your money until you've already done the work. Well, don't lose heart. There are two organizations in the state of Delaware, perhaps more, but I know I've worked with two of them, InCall and Sinair, which are financial organizations that are dedicated to helping low-income areas and places that need economic assistance in particular. And they can provide the construction financing for projects. They can take you from the beginning of your project when you need the money to when you get reimbursed from the tax credits or from the DDD program. So InCall, N-C-A-L-L, and Sinair are two financial institutions that you can turn to help you with the construction cost. And I would urge you to consider them because when you go to a commercial bank, it's often difficult to arrange for a construction loan when, say, half of the repayment is going to come out of tax credits or DDD reimbursement. They just don't normally do that, and if they do, you're going to have to educate them a good deal to do it. Now, recycling old buildings can be less costly than new construction, not always, but now when material costs are particularly high, you might find that they are less expensive to rehab an old building than to tear it down and build a new one. More important than that, I think doing this preserves an important part of our cultural heritage. Next slide, please. I live in Milford. I'm a Milford resident. I live downtown. And these are two buildings that I have used for both of them, historic tax credits, for one of them, the DDD project. And both of these buildings would have probably been torn down if it hadn't been the availability of this type of support. They were just too difficult and expensive to save without some kind of subsidization. Fortunately, through the DDD program and the historic tax credit program, we were able to save both of these buildings. Penny has already shown you the Picus building, formerly Lou's Bouterie. The other building is the Governor Tharp building, which a lot of people in Milford knew as the Jewel grocery store building for many years. Final point is, if you're doing this for the first time, it's going to seem bewildering. There is good information on the internet, but it's often very helpful to have someone walk you through the process, take you by the hand and mentor you. And for anyone who lives in Milford, I will be happy to do that. You can't hire me to be a consultant to do the work and the paperwork for you, but for free, I will take you by the hand and lead you through the process. And frankly, I'll tell you a lot of tricks to get even more money than you would if you just read the websites. So feel free to contact me, Dan Bond. You can do that. Penny knows me well. I've worked with her, and also through Rob Pierce here at the city or through the DMI office. They can put you in contact with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. That was a really good presentation. Hope many people take you up on it, but not so many that you're too busy there in Milford being the tax credit whisperer. So thank you for that. Next on the agenda, we got Rob Pierce. I believe he's still on the line, and he was going to talk a little bit just about Milford's DDD program and incentives. Rob, are you with us?
Yes, thank you, David. Can everybody hear me? Can you hear me, David?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so
you're good.
just wanted to take a couple minutes to go over the city of Milford's local incentives as part of the Downtown Development District program. We actually have set our threshold for qualifying for any of the incentives I'm going to go over in the next couple of minutes to any investment. So I believe Penny had mentioned to qualify for the rebate, you need to meet a minimum investment or qualifying investment amount of $25,000. In our case, it would be any investment spent, you would qualify for our incentives, our local incentives. We don't have the ability at the city level to provide any kind of cash rebate or monetary funding for the projects. Instead, we went with the notion of non-collection of funds. So a lot of time the work that is done with these projects, small or large, require building permits to be pulled, which include a list of fees. So the first item that we waive in full our water, sewer, and electric impact fees for projects within the Downtown Development District area. And for those that have done commercial or residential projects, that can be a considerable amount of money and is a good portion of our permit charge. Generally around, I would say 60 to 65% of our permit is those impact fee charges. The other portion that we do waive, we waive our building permit fee associated with plan review and inspection of the improvements. We also provide those tax abatements are dependent on the pre-construction and post-construction assessment values of the property. So if you improve your property assessment value by less than 50% of its current value, we would give you a partial abatement for 10 years. So that means your current assessed value prior to the improvements at that same value for 10 years. We didn't want to penalize, and we wanted to incentivize people to do these investments. So we weren't going to increase your taxes as a result of you fixing up or improving the building. The other aspect of it is if you do a very transformative project on an existing building and increase your assessment value of the property by more than 50%, the city will actually provide you a full city property tax abatement for 10 years. So again, really trying to incentivize those transformative projects. For new construction, whether it's residential, commercial, any kind of new construction, the city would provide a full tax abatement, property tax abatement for 5 years. And again, you can see we've kind of went with the method of, how can we help these projects in a way that doesn't require, cutting checks to people or giving people rebates. We would go with the non-collecting of permitting charges and providing full or partial tax abatements. One other thing to note, if your project requires some land use application charges, whether it's a site plan, some of those charges may be waived as well. And again, one couple things I wanted to touch on. Those are the general local incentives. I know Penny had provided an overview of district activity. We've been keeping track of all projects, whether they apply for that small rebate or not with the state. We've had since the designation of a DDD area in 2016, we have 83 total projects with a little over $22 million in committed private investment. And the city has waived to date over $370,000 in fees and abatements. So again, that was a quick overview of the City of Milford local incentives. And those incentives would be applied for at the time of building permit issuance, and we would track it through the process. So that's all I have on that, David. If anybody has any questions, I guess we can hold those for the end.
Yeah, let's hold questions to the end. Next up, we do have, we're going to ask Rick Farrell and Karen Horton to maybe say a few words about the DDD resource team. So Rick and Karen, take it away. Assuming Karen's still on here and can hear us. Yeah, there she is. Hey, Karen. You're muted, Karen. There you go.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
All right. Rick, you want to go first?
Well, sure, and I'll be quick, Karen. I just wanted to sort of reiterate a couple points that have been made already this evening. I suppose my part and contribution to tonight's conversation could be subtitled, "You Are Not Alone." If you're someone that has been thinking about doing a project, one thing you should be sort of getting a feel for right now is that the program, as David said earlier, started in 2016 and has matured along the way. The people that are administering this program at the state level acknowledge that there's people who out there with projects on their minds who don't know what they don't know. So one of the roles I've been asked to work with is to help people or to facilitate projects. Small project investors particularly, their wheelhouse may be that they're a fantastic chef or a great accountant, but there's things that they don't know how to do as well as what their wheelhouse is. And so I suppose you could say my role is to work in two areas. To help get projects started, when you're thinking about them, I'm someone you can think out loud with, and we can walk through what the barriers to entry and some of the obstacles and problems to solve for are. And then the other thing I can do is if you're already in the project or if you're already at a different place on the track and you get stuck, I think I can help you get unstuck. The one great thing about this program as it's matured is it's brought some tools that have come to bear to help facilitate projects and to get things over the finish line. So the group that's speaking tonight actually calls itself the DDD resource team. And that's because everybody involved in that team provides a resource from a different skill set. And if one of us doesn't have the skill set required to work through a problem, we will network in a way that gets us the problem solver and brings that so that you are not alone. Developers with that do this for a living, they're in a different category than a lot of our small project folks. And what I don't want to see is people have great ideas and talk themselves out of it because they think they're alone and there's too many things to solve for. That's simply not the case. There's going to be lots of ways for you to get in touch with us that you're seeing as we go along. My information on the screen. Karen's up next. Her information is on the screen. We haven't heard from Kat yet, but Kat's available as well. Dan made a magnanimous offer earlier. So the resources are here. Please reach out and use them. And with that, I'll pass it to Karen.
Hi, everyone. Rick did a great job talking about the work of the DDD resources team. And I just wanted to highlight some of the work that the resource team has done and also some of the material that you may be interested in as a potential investor. For example, we're a collaborative effort, as you mentioned, State Planning Office, Division of Small Business. We all came together And we were very fortunate to be able to have Rick come and work with us and really benefit from his amazing skills as a facilitator, his knowledge base. I mean, he really has the skills to help you get unstuck, like he says. Also, when you combine that with the skills of Dan Bond, I mean, that's just amazing for everyone who's thinking of investing in Milford, because you probably have the two greatest minds right there in Delaware on those topics. So I just want to say you have a powerful, powerful incentive. You have a wonderful district with Milford and all the resources that they provide. Rick Farrell as our community development coach, working with the district, working with the investors, helping them get unstuck. Dan Bond, I mean, my goodness, you know, that he is willing to walk you through those wonderful historic buildings and bringing them back to life. I'm very excited for the future of Milford. I really, every time I go there, I'm just blown away by the new things that are happening. I also wanted to share that, you know, Penny gave some great stats on some of the work, and so did Rob, on some of the great investments that have been done to date. We have it's called the Downtown Development District Story Map. And what that does is it highlights developer investments in the type of projects in terms of commercial, residential, or mixed use. And this interactive map allows you to view the parcels in each of the DDD districts. And what that's good for is you can see the type of projects that get these rebates. And you can kind of, it's amazing when you look at some of the districts that have been, you know, designated for several years, because they have many, many, many projects, and you can almost see that, I mean, you can see the transformation take place. So if you don't believe us and the presenters, really, I encourage you to look at the DDD district story map, and the link should be on the district website. If not, I mean, we can send the link out to anyone who wants it. Afterward, it's also on the state planning, DSHA's website. We also do an annual report to the governor that shows how the program is doing in revitalizing downtown, the designated downtowns. And it really does a great job of showing, you know, just a huge impact and how quickly a district revs up their program, and it becomes very helpful. For those in Milford's business community, we have marketing material available for you to use for investors. We worked with the University of Delaware to develop these DDD promotional materials. We got feedback from several of the districts. They include templates for printable promotional materials for posters, flyers. We have window clings, and we also have digital tools like social media posts, really attractive, and short videos. So we really, what we do is we just want you to know that this is a collaborative effort. Like Rick said, you know, is that if somebody doesn't know, we will find out who does know. You're definitely not alone. And it's a collaborative effort, and we are here to help you, here to help the district, help the business community to promote and make your downtown development district a success. So thank you.
Thanks, Karen. I just put the, I think you're seeing the story map on the screen. So trying to give you a little visual of what that looks like for Milford. And our last but not least speaker is going to be Kat. She's going to talk about some downtown Milford updates, and then we'll have Q&A and discussion. So Kat, take it away.
First of all, I want to thank everybody that put together this workshop today. This is a lot of information if you're not familiar with any of it. I'm right downtown at 10 South Walnut Street. So if you would like an update, we've recorded this. I can send it out for a refresher. Stop in and see me. I can put you in touch with anyone that spoke here today. or give me a call at the office. And we can go ahead and get you in contact and get some better explanation of all the things, because it's a lot of information for 1 hour. So again, I just want to thank everybody that put the effort into this today. This was a really great resource. There's so much good information here, and I can help you get on the right track to finding that.
All right. Thanks, Kat. And now, if anybody has any questions, I guess the right thing to do is, I don't know if Rick's still around, or Kat, if you wanted to be the help people get to the microphone, or do it in chat, or we can send answers out by email later if you want to send it to us. How do you want to handle this?
I did. We're going to just pass the laptop around.
Passing the laptop around, that'll work.
Does anyone have a question?
It was pretty thorough.
The comments we're getting, it was very thorough.
Yes.
and,
Yeah.
No questions.
All right, that's great. Yeah, you're still seeing the screen. There's some resources. Kat, I can make sure you get a copy of this PowerPoint presentation, and you can send it out to everybody, and you use it, and get in touch with us as needed. We're here to help, and we're very excited about the future of Milford's DDD. So with that, I don't have anything else. I guess we can call it a night, and look forward to hearing from you very soon.
Thank you.
All right.
Good night.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Good night.
I gotta find out how to turn this off. There we go. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.